So we'll look at your setups. We've got two different shots here. One's a bunker shot, one's an iron shot, which is why you look very different, yeah?
Yes.
You're setting up now, as we said, with a narrower stance for your long game, because what that's going to help you do is actually move the lower half, which in case when you move the lower half, rather than as you were doing before with the wide stance, hitting the ground behind the golf ball, we can now hit the ground after the golf ball, or ball then a bit of turf, as the sort of phrase goes, okay? So that narrower stance now. Setup wise, as we said, the handle is forward, but not excessively forward. As a general rule of thumb, if you look down through your eyes, your hands now will be over sort of that right toe, or the left foot, or the big toe on your left foot there, okay? So that's kind of where your hands are. If you moved your hands further forward, that'd be no good. In terms of the backswing itself, how you move on the way back, really good. Now, because your lower half is a lot narrower...
Sorry, can
my
arm be straighter?
No, don't worry about that. That's fine,
okay,
absolutely fine, yeah. Because if you try to keep your left arm straight now, you just lock it out.
Right, okay.
I never say bend your left arm. No. In an ideal world, we'd probably actually try and look at less bend in your right arm, because you can't keep your right arm straight, but keeping that a little bit more extended. But I wouldn't worry about that, because you're not going to then think about this left hip movement, okay? We want your left hip now to move towards that red line. When the stance is narrower, you're able to get there a bit more, you see, yeah? You're starting to move there, because now you're able to finish like that.
Wow.
Really good finish.
Good,
it's a great... No, it does. Honestly, take credit where credit's due. Whereas you think the first thing we had at the start of the session, this foot at the back here, wasn't up on its toe.
No.
Your weight was sort of falling back in that direction.
Yeah.
So you were never really able to hit the golf ball cleanly. All you could really hope for was you caught enough of the golf ball and none of the ground to hit an all right shot. Not the best way of playing, to be fair. No. So that's your long game. Now, based on what we're saying, almost in reverse now for a bunker shot, we want to be in the ground early, don't we? We want it to sand before the ball. So we've got this ball teed up to sort of replicate sort of the ball being on the sand, and you're going to go underneath the sand. That's the purpose of the tee peg there, obviously. And as we said, with this shot, you're getting no resistance as the club comes underneath the golf ball. When you're on a golf course, if we go sort of yellow, all this will be sand, and your club has to enter the sand behind the ball, which therefore means it will slow the club down. So you're getting the technique really, really good, because you've got a wide stance, first W. You're going to wiggle the feet in, which obviously on this one you can't do. And the weight is going to stay forward on that left foot. That's why you open up that left foot just to put a bit more weight. Could you get a bit more weight forward there? Possibly, okay? But in terms of the swing now, because you're staying nice and low, when you come back to the golf ball, you're able to slide that club under the golf ball. The ball is coming off at a really high launch, and then you're twisting through to your target. Now, okay, you might hang back a little bit on that one slightly. So your weight could be just a smidgen further forward. That's why sometimes they're going a little bit to the left, okay? But overall, a massive improvement in that potential bunker play. As I said, it's not a bunker down there. So you're not getting the same feel as what it would, but obviously there's snow on the ground there, so we don't want to get soaking wet out there. But at least to get the stance, and you're connecting, you're effectively hitting the tee peg. That's the key thing, okay? Just make sure that club face, I would say now, is probably a little bit aiming left. We want to make sure that this part of the club, that toe part of the club, is just back a little bit more. Yeah. Add a bit more loft to the club. Incorporate a bit more kind of the bottom part of the club you want to be in the sand with, and get that ball going a little bit straighter, okay? So wide stance, wiggle the feet in, weight left. That's the 3 W's of your bunker shot, okay? And then it's keeping that weight there as you slide under. For the long game, we're going to go slightly narrower stance, because you want the body to be able to move and change the low point and change how your club interacts with that golf ball. For different clubs and different shots we're going to play, we're going to set up differently, yeah? That's the main crux of this, what you've got to try and understand, yeah? You've got your bunker shot technique. You've got your iron shot setup. You've got your driver setup. You've got your putting setup. You've got your chipping setup, yeah? All these different shots have a different setup, yeah? Whereas I would say most of the time, if you look at people on the golf course, they're just stood to the golf ball in sort of a generic way. Some days they might be in a bit of a driver-ish sort of setup, in which case their driver works well that day. The irons aren't very good and their chipping's poor. One day they might set more like sort of an iron or a short game generic way. The driver's terrible, the irons are all right, the pitching's okay, but the putting's not great. Then you might get more of a putting setup. Unlikely, but who knows, yeah? So we've got to make sure we establish our setup for the shot we're going to play.
Fab.
Make sense?
Really, really good.
Excellent, good stuff. Now, and again, but you look at these two really here amazing. Now, if I said to you now, which one of these, obviously we've seen the video so we know anyway, but which one of these now, irrespective of seeing down here, which is a bunker shot, which is a full shot. Because you've got such a wide stance, you've got that foot flared out, and if you were wiggled down into the sand, obviously, we could see you in a much more lower position, yeah? I mean, your heads are almost at the same sort of height, but look how much higher your feet are compared to that one, because you're lower down, yeah? You're shorter in this one on the right-hand side than you are on that one on the left-hand side.
Bunker now.
Exactly, on the beach. Okie dokie.